This is what I think is wrong with the movie.
Okay, tell me.
Kevin O'Leary is not anti-Semitic enough, basically. That
You're
character.
Like, let me tell you how it is. Not at all what I thought you were going to say.
What did you think I was going to say?
Not that.
Welcome to Popcorn Moms, the podcast for parents who love their kids most but loved movies first. We're your co-hosts Netta
and Stephanie, two movie lovers turned moms. Join us as we reconnect with the things that make us whole outside parenthood, namely watching movies about unhinged ping pong players. Yes, we are talking about Marty Supreme. Marty Supreme is a 2025 American sports comedy drama directed by Josh Safdie, starring Timothée Chalamet as Marty Mauser. In 1952 New York City, Marty Mauser is a young Jewish man with a great talent for table tennis. However, he suffers a humiliating defeat at the Table Tennis World Championship. A year later, Marty has to come up with the cash to get to the championships in Japan and very little time to do it. This was Netta's pick. So why did you choose this movie?
Well, I saw this movie in theaters in December with Eric. I really, really enjoyed it. I just kind of left being like, I really want to talk about this movie with somebody. And that's you. And then now it's nominated for a bunch of Oscars.
Yeah.
And that's coming up soon. And we haven't done a sports movie yet. And I was also curious what I would think watching it for a second time.
Yes.
So yeah, that's why I chose it. What did you think?
We'll say a couple things first in response. So I will say after we watched it, Sean said, I really want to watch it a second time. Or I feel like I need to watch the second time. And it made me think of you because I remember when you suggested it, you had just seen it. And so I was like, really? You'll watch it again, but you wanted to watch it a second time. So I'm now interested upon viewing twice what you think of it. And yeah, I do remember you saying you just wanted to talk to somebody about it. So but you didn't tell me if you liked it or not. I could maybe surmise that you did, but I don't know.
Well, what did you think? Did you like it?
All right. I got a lot to say.
Yeah.
I think I feel many things. I struggle with this one because I didn't not like it. I didn't
not like it.
Yeah. So I didn't hate it. I did not like it. I didn't love it. I think a few things that we can discuss. I think my viewing of it, I hate to say it, was quite impacted by what other people sold it to me as. I went in cold, by the way. I didn't watch a trailer. I didn't read a review. I didn't read the synopsis. Nothing. The fact this was about ping pong was a complete shock to myself.
Okay.
And so the way that it was set up to me, which we'll talk about, I feel was a bit of a mislead. I would not characterize the movie that way. So I think that set me off. And then the other thing I'll say, which I don't say often, I feel like I might be missing something. Sometimes when I think a movie is bad, it's that movie's bad. People who like that movie, it's why? I don't get it. But this time, am I missing something? Maybe. You know what? I loved the first hour. I loved it. Through and through, it had me. And then slowly over the course of the movie, it lost me. And I think that's why I'm struggling. That's why I'm struggling. Okay, you go.
Yeah. So in a way, I think you are missing something, but
I think I am.
I think the movie did not provide that thing.
Yes.
So,
I agree wholeheartedly.
I think that there is, I do really like this movie. I like the energy. I like the pace. I like how unexpected it is. Really like that I did not know what was going to happen next and I was not thinking about it. That's not a very usual experience at this point, right? When you're watching a movie.
Okay.
To me, it did not feel very long.
Okay, we have to come back to that.
Okay, sure.
Yes. Okay, it didn't feel long for you. Okay.
But I think something kind of clicked right at the end that made sense of everything. And I think upon second viewing, I could kind of bring that in and pretend as if it was there, but it's not. As in, I think this is almost an amazing movie. I think in many ways, I think it is. But I think it has this big flaw. I don't want to start with the big flaw, but I don't want to start there.
I feel like... No, I feel like you're putting into words what I usually struggle with is how I feel. But I'm struggling with it because it is essentially an amazing movie that just doesn't
click into place.
It's everything is working and it's good, and then it just like stops, or it just like doesn't, or yeah, I don't know. Like I was saying to Sean, I couldn't help. Okay, I'm probably jumping ahead, but I couldn't help but think about another movie I watched recently, very similar vibes. That was done so much better.
Which one?
Potentially. No, I can't, because we might watch it next. And now I've just blown the lid off that.
I was thinking, okay, could we start by talking about the music?
Yes. She said passionately, because that became one of the most interesting things to me, which I don't think is a great look for the movie itself, but it was a great choice in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go on. What were we going to say?
Well, I have thoughts about like the 80s music in this kind of period piece set in the 50s. The 80s music was so like, it really stood out in a way that I think was like very effective.
All of the music in this movie is from the 80s, or 80s sounding, and like even the like score, very 80s-y. There's only, I think, like one scene where they lean into like the music of the era when they get out of the car and they're dancing alongside the car.
Yeah.
And that stands out because it is kind of the only time that the music of the era is played. Otherwise, it's 80s music. And I was so fascinated by this because it was such a deliberate choice. Like, it was so deliberate. Like, this is a movie that takes place in the 50s that I don't know the 50s very well, but for all intents and purposes is like looks pretty authentic to that time. Like the actors, the look, like it's so good. And then you throw in this like very like synthy, upbeat 80s music. Why was this done? Because I had a suspicion that 80s music is very fun, very lively. It's very like upbeat and things are happening and it's moving. And yes, the thing that I read, it was like they made this choice to use like 80s music because to try to mimic that like chaotic, fervent like nature of him, and things are moving and it's spunky and it's fun and it's lively. And so I really enjoyed that choice.
Totally. I feel like, okay, here's my thoughts.
Shoot.
I think that, and I could be wrong about this, I'm pretty sure that like table tennis had kind of a moment in the 80s.
Pong. Pong. Atari. Pong. Yeah, I'm like, wow. I'm just connecting these dots.
I didn't even think about that. So that's why we have each other, to bring the dots.
Yeah, because I didn't think about that.
But I think it's also that the 80s were kind of the heyday of like the sports movie, where like sports were the arena in which it was like America versus its enemies, right? So right? Like this is a theme.
Yeah, like Rocky, whatever. The most famous one when he fights the Russian.
Yeah. Oh, it's the Russians. I think that it's like a particular kind of sports movie that it's referencing, or that it's kind of like calling back to, which is a kind of like national pride, that there's something bigger at stake in the outcome, and that this is a test not just of like the individual, but of like the group that the individual is part of and that they're standing for. I also feel like the 80s is kind of an interesting time to like pull the music from, because it's old.
Yeah.
But it's not that old.
No,
it's very familiar. It's still part of the culture.
Yeah, I was gonna say it feels very like of today still.
Yeah. And because of the synthiness, it has kind of like even a future-esque kind of vibe, kind of sound to it too. There's something kind of like forward pushing about this, or future looking about this.
Like, okay, interesting. I was thinking you were gonna say like it's contradictory to like the time, maybe is what you're gonna say. But the sports movie thing, if we could just digress into that direction for a second.
Yeah.
I absolutely love sports movies. It is yes. It is a genre I am very passionate about. I feel like it was maybe 2 years ago around now, maybe in the winter, spring. I dug deep and I watched probably like 50 sports movies. Like boom, boom, boom. I got in a zone, man. I just ripped through these things. Like I wrote I made this huge list and I just ripped through it. And because I love sports movies so much. I made a note somewhere too, like as soon as I realized this was going to be about competitive ping pong, I was hooked. Like I was in it, man. And then I started reflecting, because I knew you're going to ask, why do I love sports movies so much?
I know.
I think because I am incredibly competitive.
Mm.
So I love competitive, like, I'm a very competitive person. And so I love movies that kind of mimic that like drive and ambition to like achieve something, to win, whether it be like the underdog or the superstar or whatever.
Mm.
It doesn't matter like what sport, like even golf, like a
Mm.
good competitive golf movie. I'll take that.
Mhm.
The more I know about a sport, the better. I do think that the football movies are the best for some reason. Baseball movies, obviously, very close to my heart. But yeah, I love a good sports movie. So this being like a sports movie, kind of, was
Mhm.
very fun. However, it lost me a little bit because it was for but a brief moment a competitive ping pong movie.
Yeah.
And then it went in a different direction,
Yeah.
which I think added to my disappointment.
So, okay, so you were saying earlier that you feel like you were set up with the wrong
Yes.
expectations of this movie, and that kind of
Hmm.
shaped. So, what was that?
Rarely have I gone into a movie cold. And I think maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should have done my own kind of like
It's
looky
such a
loo.
crapshoot.
I don't know, right? It
I
is such
think it's
a
such a
sometimes it's
crapshoot.
so fun.
Sometimes it's great. Sometimes
Mm,
the trailers really mislead you, and
I
sometimes they
know.
really set you up for a
I know.
successful watch. I don't
And
know.
I had
Yeah.
heard this movie was great. I did want to see it. So great. Let's let her rip. So a couple people who I'd said like, "Oh, we're going to watch this movie." Their reactions were very much like, "Oh my god, like it's such a wild ride. This very intense, visceral, like over the top, nonsensical, really intense." So I think I was kind of being set up for this like really intense trip. And I think in some ways this is like an intense thing, but not in the same way that the things people said it was like are, if that makes sense.
I would like you to expand on that because the first time I watched it in theaters, it
I know. I
did
want to
feel
hear.
very intense. It did feel very
Interesting.
frenetic.
Okay.
To the point that, like, when the second time that I watched it, like, for our discussion, I was surprised at the beginning when it's like you see him kind of have good relationships with some people and he's,
Mm-hmm.
like, genuine, and it's not like that. And I just remember thinking, like, did it feel that way because I saw it in theaters?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it the case that it just, like, the freneticism kind of builds up later on, and that's what I remembered? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was left with at the end, and I just didn't really remember the kind of earlier sort of more of the
Mm-hmm.
build up to it and kind of seeing
Mm-hmm.
that this other kind of maybe side of his personality. So, yeah, so I'm still kind of torn on that. If it was, like, the setting or if it was, the number of watches or if it was whatever,
Mm.
but I'm wondering, like, what do
Yeah.
you think of as, like, an intense movie that this was not?
You know what it is? Now that we're talking about it, I feel like a lot of the movies that people were like, "Oh, it's like this or it's like this." Those are all very like dark movies or negative. And so
Mm,
like they're very intense and they're very like energetic and they're very like frenetic. But it's like a heavy energy maybe or like not necessarily dark but like there's an absurdity to it, but it's like a darker absurdity.
yeah,
Whereas
yeah,
this wasn't. I feel like a lot of those movies too, like the main characters are characters of which like you're not supposed to like them. And this movie, like I want to like, do you like him? Do you not? Are you supposed to like him? Are you not supposed to like him? Like I don't know.
I think I don't really care if he's a likable character right now, to be honest, 'cause I feel like so, okay, when we walked out of the movie, Eric and I,
Yeah.
what he said was he thought that this was, like, a great portrait of a boy who thinks he's a man and is not yet.
Ooh,
Of
Eric.
yeah. Like, this
Yeah.
is somebody who's kind of, like, on the cusp of, but is not there, and then at the end, when he basically takes responsibility for his
Yeah.
child or kinda claims his child,
Yes.
that's sort of a turning point for, like, another stage in his life where, presumably
Mhm.
that will happen. But that this is about, like, somebody who thinks they're a grown man and is
Yeah.
not at all. And so, I don't know, I feel like, yes, no, a character at that stage of life is, like, very easily dislikable.
Yes.
So, like, he's so arrogant, and
Yeah.
it is so much his downfall in a number of times. I think there's things about his character that could make more sense if the villain was played better, to be honest. This is like
Mm.
kind of getting now to like what I think is wrong with the movie.
I know, I was like,
Um
go on.
okay. Okay, let's just talk about this now. This is what I think is wrong with the movie.
Okay, tell me.
Kevin O'Leary is not anti-Semitic enough, basically. That
You're
character.
Like, let me tell you how it is. This is exactly how it is. Not at all what I thought you were going to say. Okay.
What did you think I was gonna say?
Not that. But I do think it's very interesting that you mention the villain, because I'm like, oh my God, yes, something is there. We talk about movies being tight sometimes. There's many things that were a little loose for me.
They were loose. I feel like they were tight but not connected in a way.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this is the thing.
Let's hear it.
I think this movie set up in a way that we are supposed to understand that anti-Semitism is like part of the air that he is breathing.
Yeah.
Part of what he is pushing against, what's limiting him, why he takes on all this arrogance and all this whatever.
Yes.
Like, this is all taking place in the shadow of the Holocaust. We
Yeah.
have that honey scene that we can talk about, but there's so many indications of this throughout the script. So the fact that like the main villain, Kevin O'Leary's character, like the first time you meet him, he sees that Marty's friend has like the
Yep.
tattoo, the number tattoo, and says something like, you know, my son died freeing
liberating you.
Yeah. To which I think Marty says, you know, something quite impertinent, like, what? I thought he was freed by the Russians. He was freed by the Soviets.
Weren't you freed by the Russians? Like, he turned immediately to the guy and was like, wait a second. Like, he took it so literally.
Exactly. Well, but I think I do think it's a fair point, but also, I mean, it's a kind of comment coming from the O'Leary's character that like you could take to just be, you know, a guy whose son is died and it's very painful.
Yes.
You know, that could really be it.
Yeah.
But I think as it goes on, you see kind of other dynamics going on there. And then what really cinches it, what kind of made it click the first time around, the first time watching it, was at the end when Marty is playing the exhibition game and he is set up to lose by O'Leary. Like he's agreed to lose.
Yeah.
But what O'Leary has not discussed with him ahead of time is that the loser has to kiss a pig.
Kiss the pig.
This is, I mean, obviously demeaning no matter what. But pigs are kind of like the emblematic non-kosher food, like kind of non-kosher item. And there is this kind of subtext of anti-Semitism in that act, of like the particularly kind of demeaning act of making a Jew kiss a pig. I mean, this kind of, you know, and it's like when I saw that, I'm like, oh yeah, I think O'Leary was supposed to actually just be anti-Semitic throughout. That was supposed to be part of the subtext.
Yes.
And I think O'Leary's character was supposed to kind of embody the anti-Semitism that otherwise feels a bit abstract and doesn't necessarily have a super explicit way to come into it. Again, I think you kind of get hints and pieces and things, but I think O'Leary's character was really supposed to bring that. And my theory is that like O'Leary is just was not a skilled enough actor to bring that subtext in.
Yeah. Okay. So a few things there. When he did make the comment about the tattoo on the guy's arm, I did take that as a very rude anti-Semitic comment. Like, not like, oh, I'm a grieving father. And like, I took that as like a personal slight. But then to your point, whether it be the acting, the writing, whatever, like something around that got lost a little bit throughout. And then you see him and Marty get into like a verbal disagreement. I think it's following that when they're talking about the exhibition game. And Marty says something extremely rude about his son dying. It like makes you feel for a second for Kevin O'Leary's character. And then it really detracts. Like, both of these men are jackasses.
I think like that first interaction, it's kind of like it could go either way.
It could go either way.
This guy could just be, you know, kind of generally bitter and not very sympathetic, or he could be just full on anti-Semitic.
Yes.
But then like in all their future interactions, I think what you see is Marty being an arrogant asshole. Yeah. And this guy who's also kind of an arrogant asshole himself, like pushing back.
Yes.
Right? But he's a more reasonable, arrogant asshole. What you don't see is a Jew and an anti-Semite.
Yes. Yes.
Which I think
Very,
is
because
part
I
of
didn't at
what.
all.
No.
Like, it really went to that, like, these two arrogant jackasses going at it
Yeah.
is where
And
it went for me.
Yeah. And I think that if that had been there, a lot of other stuff would have made sense. I think his arrogance would have been understood, at least in part, as defiance, as
Yes.
like what is needed, as like what's required to
Yeah.
thrive or to kind
Yes.
of rise above this stuff. I think that the whole kind of like environment of like Jewish New York, post-Holocaust Jewish New York, would have made like the dysfunction that you kind of see in his family, in the building, everybody's on top of each other, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I think even that would have felt a bit more like there's a kind of wider world that's pressing in on this.
Mm-hmm.
Like this isn't just a thing of like, you know, crazy Jews or dysfunctional Jews and
Yeah.
like their crazy mothers or whatever.
Yeah.
This is a thing of like a community under pressure.
Yeah.
I think that a lot more about his character, about his journey would have made so much more sense, because then you get to the end and it's like he's so triumphant when he does win. So he's like, okay, so at the end, he finds out that he's shut out from the actual championships, which is what he went through hell to get to, but he's not actually gonna, he's like so close yet so far. He does this exhibition match, even though he knows he's not going to get to the reason that he's going to put up with losing this fake game
is
to do the real championships. He knows he's not going to do that. He still goes through with losing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he finds out that in losing, he has to kiss a pig. And he says, no, 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 no. Let's have a real game. And they do the game. It's him and this Japanese guy, and that's a whole like very interesting kind of
I was gonna say
thing
there's a whole thing itself there with the Japanese situation.
Yeah. And he wins, so he doesn't have to kiss the pig.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just about not kissing the pig. The level of triumph that he has, like, what is he triumphing over? This is not like this thing of the this kind of calling back to sports movies of the 80s where it was about like America versus its enemies, like America versus Russia. That's not what's going on here. This isn't about America versus Japan. This is about like a Jew versus an anti-Semite.
Yeah.
Right? Like when he triumphs, that huge triumph at the end is meaningful because of that, or would be. And then he goes back home. He claims his son. He like breaks down into tears. And again, I think this would have made much more sense if that anti-Semitism angle was actually present, because like he has that line like very early in the movie where he's talking to reporters and he says like, I'm Hitler's worst nightmare.
Oh my God, that was,
which I loved.
That was so, they really caught me off guard and was hysterical.
Yeah.
Because the reporters are like, what? And he's like, well, when you think about it, it was like, he has thought about this.
The thing is, it's not that crazy of a thing to say. Like this idea of like Jews thriving, Jews winning. Yeah. That was, very much not in Hitler's designs.
No.
But the thing is also like Jews having children was also like for a lot of Holocaust, because the purpose of the Holocaust, because the purpose of the Nazis was to eradicate Jews. Like for a lot of Jews after the Holocaust, like having babies was kind of a middle finger to the Nazis and to Hitler. And so like he gets home and it's like, I just triumphed over the anti-Semite, whatever. And then I get home and I see this baby and I'm like, this baby is actually Hitler's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
It's like this other triumph, but like in a totally different way. Anyways, this was all missing, but
I know.
upon second watching, I could pretend it was there.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I was like, it's so funny because at the end too, like it hits him in a different way, but like I really, really like that scene because you can tell it's hitting him in a different way, and I can see what you're saying now. Like you almost see it going from like, oh cool, I'm a father, like this boy, to like realizing like he is a Jewish man, has made this beautiful life with this woman. And like it goes into this like very touching place, the way he's acting when he sees this baby. But what's interesting about everything you just said does not come across at all in first watch at all. So that's a shame because that's beautiful and that's
And
wonderful. And that's like
I know.
such a
I th
better,
I
well-rounded story.
I think it's Kevin O'Leary's fault. That's my theory.
Really?
I don't know. I don't
I
know.
don't I would
Mm,
argue it is not.
say more.
Well, he can only, with the lines that he is given and with the story that is being told, that he is being like told to portray. Because like, unlike some actors who really like Kevin O'Leary, I was like, whoa, how is he in this movie? Is he even an
I
actor? Like,
know.
what's going on? And then I was like, oh, he did pretty good. But
Yeah.
like, he's not like a Gary Oldman or a who's Daniel Day-Lewis. Like, he's not going to shape something and take it and really look into the subtext of the character and what are they bringing to the table in this and there. A story is written and directed and shaped if he's not being given those directions. I just feel like it was a group loss
Sure.
executed, and Kevin O'Leary is like at the forefront of that, and he just wasn't good enough to make up for maybe what wasn't there.
I think okay, yes. As in I think he should not have been cast. I think he should not
Hmm.
have been put in that position. But I think a different actor with the exact same lines, the exact same script, the same director, the same everything
Really?
could have made it work for sure. For
I don't
sure.
know, man.
Another actor could have brought that subtext in. And maybe it is, like you're saying, maybe it is the direction. And who knows? Maybe he did bring that. And for some reason in editing, they decided, you know what, we're not going to
Maybe.
go in that direction. Like, we don't actually know.
Hmm.
But I think that, like, that the clarity of that and like the real kind of anchor of all of that was supposed to come from that character. And whether it was
Mm.
because of O'Leary or because the direction he got or whatever, I think the script had enough there that a skilled actor could have brought it in.
Yeah, the reason I kind of go back to this idea of like I don't know is because the script and the writing leaned more into this like we're two arrogant guys going at it. One is old school, he's been around the block and he thinks he knows it all. And then Timothée Chalamet's character is like young and fresh and like arrogant. He doesn't have anything to back it up yet, but he is ambitious and he knows what he's going after. He is also sleeping with the other guy's wife. And so he's like secretly doing that as like a you and like toying with both of them. Like to
Mhm.
me, it was much more just them as cut from the same cloth, but like in different
Yeah.
eras. And so like I missed that completely. It
Mm.
wasn't a through line enough.
I mean, maybe I think I guess it's hard to know, but I
Yeah.
do think that if Kevin O'Leary could have brought that, I think that would have been enough with everything else that was in there.
For you. Just like
Yeah.
to
I think
yeah.
so. Like one thing, like when he goes to Egypt. So there's this whole sequence where he's with the Harlem Globetrotters,
Mhm.
basically doing like
Doing
a
the halftime
monkey act
shows. Yeah.
with the ping pong with his friend. And it shows them going to like all these different places, all these different cities in the world. And I mean, what's interesting is you don't really see them in those cities for the most part. They're just like in
Mhm.
an arena, like it could
Yeah.
be any city in the world.
Various arenas, yeah.
But there were two that stood out. One was Munich. That's the one where you don't see them actually performing. You see them on the sidelines watching
Yeah.
the Harlem Globetrotters perform, and they just look very uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And then the other one was in Egypt, where you also don't actually see them perform. You see them like at the pyramids, at the side
Yeah.
of the pyramids, like as tourists. But there's Marty
He's
Mauser
shipping
chipping
away.
off a piece of the pyramids, which when I watch, I'm
Mhm.
like, what the are you doing? And then later he gives that piece to
Yeah.
his mom as a
I
gift and
know.
says, "We built that. It's still
Yeah.
there," or something like
Yeah.
that. Which I just thought was like really kind of encapsulated a lot. Like I feel like that story of like him like chipping off a piece of the pyramids that like according to Jewish tradition was built by Jewish
Yeah.
slaves. I don't think that's historically accurate as far as I know, but whatever. And giving that to his mom as a gift and saying what we built is still there. Like
Mhm.
just all of that kind of really encapsulates, I think, a lot of like what the movie as a whole is supposed to be.
Yes, I was gonna say it's supposed to
It's
be.
supposed to be.
Supposed to be. I agree with you because there are like it is very interesting on second watch what you're pulling because I can close my eyes and like think about if I could string together this movie in a different way and potentially recast Kevin O'Leary as per your recommendation. It becomes an incredible story around being somebody in a place when you're not supposed to be somebody and overcoming that and having a triumph personally and for your community. But it just missed the mark.
That's the thing. There's this thread missing that would tie
Yeah.
it all together. Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting because I said to Sean, it's like, like, yeah, we talk about movies being really tight, and I feel like this movie is like the knot is perfectly there and everything's there, and it's like you just have to pull that thread to tighten it up. But I couldn't put my finger on like what that thread is that would like bring everything together and like really button it up. Maybe that's it.
Since I picked this and I knew we were going to be talking about it, I was kind of like, I had no idea how you were going to react to this movie. Like, I had no idea if you would like it. I had no, like, because I thought you might, I thought you might not. Like, it really felt like it could go either way. But I was like, is she going to come and say that there's like something off about it? But then I was very curious, like, if you didn't, like, if you thought like, no, this is a totally complete movie, blah, blah. Like, I was very curious
No.
how that would have,
It
how
was,
that would have seemed. But yeah.
and I think this is what, one, did you think there was a world where I wouldn't like it? Like actively not like it?
No, I think
No.
it's like too high quality for you to
Fun. Yeah.
hate it.
Yeah.
It was fun, right?
It's fun. And it's like, it's too fun. It's too high quality. It's too unique and too
It is
different.
so, yes.
Like you gotta mad props to movies that are original stories and
Yeah.
interesting and different. And like drawing in like qualities of like uniqueness in many ways. Like it's not just like a guy wanting to be good at sports. It's ping pong, which he insists the entire time calling table tennis. Very professional, which I thought was hilarious. But also you have the Jewish community thing, but also then you have like an affair with a movie. Like there's just so many fun things happening there, right? So of course I'm not gonna hate it. Whether I like love it or like want to love it, that's the top. And I feel like that's what pisses me off, frankly, because I feel like it's so close, but something was missing. And to your point, sometimes I don't know what's missing, but something was missing. It was also too long. But if that thing was there, would it have not? It's like all the pieces were there, but the board underneath, like it didn't have like that solid ground. You're making a face. I'm thinking
That's
about
such a
like,
good way to put it.
yeah, because I'm thinking about like all these fun pieces are there. And when you look at scenes individually, or you look at like it's like, oh, that's fun, that's fun, that's fun. But you put it together and you start to see cracks and holes, and like it just, there's no solid through line, like you said, to not explain his drive, but when he goes back to America, like it really lost me there. And like it starts to get, some movies are fun because they're absurd, but then it started to just get, so it's interesting you said you didn't know what was going to happen next. Sean called like everything, because it's just like all the ways in which it could go wrong, it was going wrong, but in many ways like outside of his control, it was just getting silly. Like it was like there was one too many like storylines going on.
Yeah.
But with this subtext to prop all of that up, I think it would have been much more interesting.
Can I ask, when you watched it, like that end scene where he's like, he wins the match.
Yeah.
And he's like, so it's like such a big deal. It's so triumphant. Like, did you watching it? What did you think he was? Why was it such a big deal?
Yeah. So like, because that like subtext was missing?
Well, as in like, I think by the time that happened, because basically what made it click was that thing about like kissing the pig. And I'm like, oh, this is an anti-Semitism thing. This whole thing has been an anti-Semitism thing. So then by the time they get to the end of that match and he wins and he's so triumphant, it's kind of like, I get it in terms of this is triumph over an anti-Semite, or this is a triumph over that. But like without that, I guess I'm not sure. Like he did, I mean, he had to work so hard to get there. So I guess that, I don't know.
For me, yeah. So without any of that, like for me, it read as pride. Like at the other championships, I lost. I thought I was going to win. I should have won, as he's saying, like they shouldn't have been there. Remember, there's this whole thing around like the travel ban.
Yeah.
But then they were there and it freaked him out, and then he lost. So for me, it was about getting back to like reclaim this idea in his mind that he was the best and to prove himself as the best. So even if it didn't matter, this is how I read it. Even if it didn't matter for any reason whatsoever, he just wanted to know that he could beat him. And so when he did beat him, he was so happy that he beat him. And it was like, he was like, okay, I know I'm the best. I can go home now. That's what it read to me, which wasn't good.
No. That's a very unsatisfying. It's like somebody loses their
Oh,
pride, and this is their journey to regain their pride,
that's
which I
what
guess,
I read it as.
but it's like this is a journey to regain his arrogance, I guess, is
Yeah.
how it comes across. Yeah, that's very
You're like,
interesting.
"Oh, yes, that's highly problematic."
Yeah, I mean, it's not problematic. It's
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 just
just like it's kind of a shitty journey.
it is, and
It's a
so
shitty as far as hero's journeys
yeah.
go,
It
what you
was
want is for somebody to arrive in a new place where it's not about the
yeah.
arrogance, it's not
No.
about that, it's about something bigger.
Yeah, for him, I thought it was about a total fuck you to the guy who was running the ping pong alliance or whatever it was called, as an FU to Kevin O'Leary, as an FU to Japan, I guess, and everyone else.
But that doesn't make sense, right?
No,
Like,
it
it's not
doesn't.
about
Everyone
Japan.
else, like his
Yeah.
mom too, like everybody. Like
Yeah.
he just wanted, and like so when he's standing there on his own and he's cheering for himself, like I felt bad. Like this is a guy who's like gone through all this just to say like, okay, I'm the best, but what does he have at the end of it? He's
Oh, that's so
lucky that
sad.
I know he's lucky that when he got home that his friend wants to be with him.
Yeah, that's so sad because I feel like it's sort of like he starts in this very individual place and he ends in this very individual place.
Yeah, I
Whereas I
kind of
think
was like,
like otherwise, but I feel like what it's supposed to be is like going from it all being about me to being about this bigger thing, to being about who he is as a kind of as part of a
yeah,
people,
that
but then
was
also being able to go home and say, my life is not just about me anymore. It's about this child. It's about this
mhm.
woman. It's about this broader community, whatever,
Yeah, and that didn't land, and I was
That
feeling when he
yeah.
went back and he went to her side and he's like, "Okay, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I love you." And then he goes to meet his baby. Like, I didn't like, "Hey, until you have the next dream," like, because your dream was to be the best and to put America on the map when it came to table tennis. Oh, you still haven't done that. So like,
It doesn't
it
make
fell
sense.
flat at the end.
Yeah.
And then Sean said too that he kept saying, like, "The payoff for all of this better be worth it." And it wasn't. He really liked the movie, like, all things aside, he really enjoyed it, but yeah, the payoff for going through all that, like, okay, I don't know if this is, like, a good time in the conversation to raise this or whatever, but given the first kind of, I wanna say 50 minutes of
Yeah.
setup, I thought this was going in this very cool direction of this, like, Jewish American is gonna bring ping pong to America, and he is gonna, like, be the face of this sport, and it's gonna be so exciting, and it's gonna be about that. And how does he push through these barriers and
Yeah.
bridge the gap and become like this person that he wanted to be for his community, for the sport, for everything? And then it just did not at all explore that. Like he gets back after losing, gets a fine, and then goes on a personal journey to kind of get money, but he's using everybody and he's lying to everybody to then go back. And like this idea of bringing ping pong or table tennis to America and being the face, is never
Disappears,
mentioned
yeah.
again. And I was like, ooh, that's a movie I'm interested in. Is him
Mhm.
having this like personal journey and then maybe realizing in the end, like, it's not about him, it's about the community, it's about this, blah, blah, blah. But yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was bummed because I feel like there was also a different like pace and tempo with that first 50 minutes. It was hysterical. It was
Yeah.
interesting. It was punchy. It was like all the good things, very unique. And then things just kind of like,
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, you basically have almost like 2 movies in one, which I really enjoyed.
go on.
Well, okay, I went into it thinking that this was, like, gonna be a biopic. It's based on a memoir of a guy. It turns out very loosely and not but of this, this ping pong hustler, basically, like,
Yeah, yeah.
this guy. So that expectation kind of ended up going out the window at one point, which was fine. Yeah, I think you kind of have 2 movies in one here
Mm-hmm.
because you have that first piece, which, he's in England for the World Championships, and then he's with the
Mm-hmm.
Harlem Globetrotters,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then he comes back to New York, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like there's a whole new setup for a whole new
Yes.
thing. Like there's a new instigating incident
Mm-hmm.
50 minutes in when his uncle basically takes all his money that
I
he's raised
know. That was crazy.
because he says Marty stole from him a year earlier.
Ridiculous.
So now he has no money, like that stability is completely gone, and now he has to like really hustle to make all this money that he made in the last like 9 months. He now has to get in like 3 or 4
Yeah.
weeks. And so yeah, it's like there's a whole other movie starting with its own with a whole other goal, this time to get to Japan. There's a whole other set of characters. There's a whole
Yeah.
other setting. There's a whole other reason for this to be happening. I mean, it's
You're
yeah,
so right. And I didn't like that part
no.
as much. No. When I think about some of the movies that we've watched that I'm kind of like, I can't put my finger on what's going on here. I don't like it as much as I should like it. I, in theory, like a lot of it, but not a lot. And I don't know how to reconcile it. It's because there's this idea of like two, what could be very distinct movies are happening at once. And it's like, I really like one of them and not as much the other one. And then when you put them together, it like fries my brain and I can't process like what's going on. But except to say, like, I loved so much the first 50 minutes or to an hour and where I thought it was going. And then as soon as it kind of, yes, this new setting, new characters, new impetus for everything, like a new world he's living in, I became like much not less interested, but like it was a movie that I think it was just expectations. I wanted this kind of like sports ping pong interesting character journey to continue. And it turned into something else, which is also fine, but just not what I wanted, I guess.
That's fair. I do wonder how it would be if you watched it again.
I know.
This is another one, yeah.
I think like I can already okay, so I was gonna say too, like sometimes I wake up the next day and it's like, oh, I love the movie. Like I like it so much more. This movie, I was so sad. I woke up and I was like, oh no, I don't like it as much as I did yesterday. Like, and it's kind of fading for me in my rear view. But I do think just sitting here, I was like, oh, like I do think if I watched it again, it would hit differently, but I'd have to fill in those blanks myself, which is annoying.
Yeah, it should have been there. I do just have one comment though about this thing of like where he humiliates, this like Japanese player in front, at his home
Yeah.
turf. I think we are not meant to feel good about this guy losing, about the Japanese player losing, which again makes it very different from those 80s sports movies. We are meant to feel good about Marty winning over Kevin O'Leary.
Yes. I think that's what maybe bugs me.
And that there's like that win comes with some ambivalence.
What bothers me about it though is that he, in challenging that player to the real game and saying this was a sham and blah blah. Yes, he's trying to get back at Kevin O'Leary, but in the process, he's willing to humiliate this guy in his own country in front of all his people and like take him down. And you're right, like without this backing, he just looks like a jackass doing that.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I think he's in a position where it's like it's less important that he win, but it's extremely important that he not lose.
Ooh. Go on.
And if not losing, like there's just too much at stake in losing that the costs of winning are worth it.
Okay. Yes, in so many other movies, not in this one. I know what you're trying to say because that
it's in the movie I imagine it is.
I know. I was gonna say, like, that is the most perfect way to put this. Like that end, when he has that triumph, I think you're supposed to feel like everything has been worth it because of this triumph. And in actuality, you feel none of that. So it just feels like hollow and weird.
Yeah.
Well said. There's nothing left. You have said it. I was just saying what's really interesting is I was just scrolling through some of my notes that I took about the movie. Sean said, I can't remember at what point in the movie, but he said, what is the explanation for his personality? Point blank. That's what he said. See?
Anti-Semitism.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about everything we're talking about. And I'm like, oh, we didn't know. We're like, I don't know. He's just supposed to be this like wild, arrogant guy who's got a dream, like blind ambition, whatever. No. Anti-Semitism would have made it a much better movie.
Yeah. Can we talk about the honey scene? I feel like we almost have to.
Okay. Yeah. We can.
What was your experience watching the honey scene?
My experience watching the honey scene, it was outrageous. Like nothing else I had seen. It was interesting. It was creative. It was like one of the things that happens in a movie that like you sit there and you think, who thought of this? And why is it included? But I love it. Like, it's so interesting and it's adding something here. What's interesting though is like all the things we've been talking about, like all this kind of like through line that's missing. I think that takes on a very different meaning. If you look like that isn't there upon first watch. So this scene, it's like, oh, that's interesting. That's funny. That's quirky. That's like a weird thing to throw in. But then when you add in this layer, it's like that adds this idea of like humiliation, means to an end, providing for a community. Like it becomes so much more.
I think without that broader context to kind of anchor it, it can feel very kind of like almost like exploitative or like having fun with Holocaust imagery.
That's what it came across. Crass. And then I felt weird about it.
Yeah. And I think it's okay to feel weird about that scene. So for one thing, I think, again, it kind of like that it presented a very huge opportunity for O'Leary's character to be clearly anti-Semitic in a way. Like it just brought that to the fore in the first meeting with him. I don't think that's the main kind of purpose of it necessarily. But I think the first thing that came to mind when I watched it, so this is something that's not talked about a lot. And as far as I know, it did not happen a lot, but it did happen a little bit. And I read about it for the first time in this book called Cold Crematorium, which was like, I read it sometime in the last year. And it is a memoir of somebody who survived Auschwitz. And he talked a little bit about cannibalism in the camps.
Oh, shoot.
And it's not, I don't think it was very common or widespread. I think, like, from what I remember, it seems like there were maybe some groups of people who knew each other before and maybe kind of had like a quiet pact that like when one of them dies, it's okay. But like this is the level of starvation that people are at in the camps. Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it made me think of, like a kind of allusion to that without showing that. I think it kind of brought up the horror, the grotesque, the desperation, the depravity of conditions in the camp without showing it. And I think it kind of used maybe some of the techniques or the language of horror movies to do that in the way that it was shot, which I thought was also interesting. I don't think we've really ever figured out a way that is like definitely the way that camps should be depicted on films. But I think that this was to me, it was a very welcome experiment in a certain way of doing it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with anything you have said. And this conversation is just really showing me like two things. One, when I said it was a me problem, how much around this went kind of like over my head. Or like was not seen by me.
Okay, but let me just say, this is not a you problem.
Okay, and like other people too that I've talked to, like this is not one of the like main themes.
No.
Like since watching it, like this is not anything that anybody has mentioned. So okay, I'll say two things. I'll say one, like me problem, gone over my head, maybe not, but how much this was missing in that like a viewer like myself could see that scene and be like, that is so outrageous. It's like a not a dramatize isn't the word, but a more like it's taking the things that you just said and like some of the horrors in the camps and the cannibalism and the providing for others and what to do and this and that. And one person kind of can have this source and then they bring it back. And then like any means necessary, we need sustenance. Like these are horrible things. And it's like, it's telling it, portraying it in like a silly way. And so it comes across as silly without the subtext. And like, is that what it's supposed to be coming across as? It was odd.
It was odd,
I guess, because I don't know, is this serious? Is this not serious? Like, it was like odd, not bad.
And I think from what I can tell, there is a kind of like divided audience reaction where some people think it's very funny and some people think it's not intended to be funny. Like, I think there is kind of like, but I have to imagine that some of the reason, like, if people are laughing at the scene, some of it is just out of a sense of like, oh my God, what's going on here?
Yeah, like I think the absurdity and it coming, this is what's I was going to say, and it coming out of nowhere because none of this layering was,
I mean, I think it's just such a totally different way of depicting anything in the camps. Like when I think about that memoir, Cold Crematorium, and like at the same time though, I was reading that Eric and I were watching Band of Brothers, which follows
Mm.
I think a battalion throughout World War
Mhm.
II, and I think the last episode, it's a mini series. The last episode, they liberate a camp, and like as I'm looking at this camp, and I was like, this is pretty typical for how camps are shown in movies and TV and such. And like it is way too clean, and these people are not
Mm.
starving
Mm.
enough. And I don't expect, them to show the extent of the conditions and necessarily, but I think it just like there's a certain way of showing camps that is um as off like as bad as it looks. It's like a very sanitized version of the
Yeah.
reality. And so this like very strange and unsanitary and
Mm.
way of showing it, I think, is so unexpected and not something we're used to.
Yes, I'll say this. Question. Do you feel, because there's a lot of movies that depict the camps, World War II and stuff, and some lean into different aspects, but you're right. Like a lot of it is pretty kind of like sanitary or kind of like behind closed doors or
Mm.
not as bad or this and the other. And I feel like it's because they don't want to like go there or they don't know how to portray it or whatever. Do you think this movie, because it does, upon first watch, follow this very like absurd tone and like silly tone, like do you think like because part of me thought like the way they portrayed it followed that tone too. It's like out of nowhere and it's like quite extraordinary and different in how they're showing it. And it's this idea of not actually want to like get into how not good it was.
I mean, I think that
Like
I
they
think it
portrayed it
would have
that way to like be funny.
I don't know. And I really I
Mm.
don't know if the intention was for it to be funny
I
or
don't know.
not. I didn't necessarily get that. I think it would have been, I don't know if inappropriate is the right word. I don't think it would have really sat any any better to have like a realistic uh like portrayal
Yeah,
of can't like what are you supposed to do there?
I know.
I don't know. I
I
really don't
know.
know what you're supposed to do there. What I did, and I think that like there's a few interesting things happening here. It's an anecdote about one's experience during the Holocaust in the camps that does not really include Nazis in the
Mhm.
picture.
Mhm.
And it does involve a Jew doing something quite heroic
Mhm. Yeah.
within, you know, within the limited the limited opportunities for heroism within the camps.
That's what I took it,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
hero moment. But I think I'm also just irritated. I'm very irritated because I think this was a very, very interesting and cool opportunity that in some ways they took and then didn't finish. I
Mm.
guess. Like all like we said, all the pieces were there and they just didn't finish because at the end of it, I was like, meh, that was like 20 minutes too long. They could have really pulled out like the story with the dog and the gangster, like,
You think so?
or just any, like, as an example, like it didn't have to be that, but there was just many kind of like side missions, if you will. And like they all didn't need to be there unless they're serving a purpose. And that purpose of this like undertone was not there.
Mm. Oh, that was another thing with their names. Mauser and his friend calls him Mouse, which is do you remember that like
Yeah.
Holocaust graphic novel memoir, Mouse?
No.
Maus, much as Mauser spells his name. Anyways, and then Rockwell being like the super waspy painter, Norman Rockwell.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah,
Yes. That, yeah. See,
yeah.
they, oh,
I think
man,
it's
they needed to do a little bit more for the layman
well,
and
they
just in
need yeah.
general.
Yeah.
Maybe not actually the layman for
No, I
everyone.
think for everyone.
For
Yeah.
everyone.
So close. So
So
close.
close. So
So
close.
close. Key ingredient missing, but
Still enjoyable part.
yes, definitely. I still I really enjoyed this movie. And
That's
again,
good.
in part because I just pretend it's the movie I want it to
Because you
be.
watched it a second time and edited it in your mind.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm not there yet, but we did have to purchase it because of the Canadian situation
Yeah.
being in Canada. So
So you
I
can watch it
will
again.
potentially watch it again. But I don't know. I don't know if I want to.
Not for a while.
I'll
It's
watch the
okay.
first hour.
And then you too can pretend that what happens afterwards
Yes.
is
And then
what
I
you want it
can
to be.
leap forward an hour and just catch the last half hour.
Totally. Yeah. That's the way to do
Perfect.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
Okay.
What's next? This is one of those. Okay, yeah, wait, you talk.
No, what
What does this make you what does it
I would be very happy to watch a sports movie.
Okay. This is where I'm torn.
Mm.
Because as we were talking and throughout this first hour that I thought this was going to be a really good sports movie, I was like, ooh, I would love to pick one of the many sports movies that are out there. But then as I watched it, I alluded earlier that this reminds me of another movie I watched recently. And I cannot help but compare them. And so I'm like, maybe I should pick that.
I would rather you pick that.
Yeah.
Because not knowing what it is will bother me.
I know. I think I almost have to because
I
feel like so much of my like viewing of this movie and my opinions of this movie are being influenced by my experience with that movie.
Yeah. Please choose that. Though I must note, so we have recorded quite a few episodes because it took us so long to like get this podcast off the ground. So we have quite a few episodes kind of like in queue, but we're going to move this episode up. So because of the Oscars and stuff, I think this should be our next release.
What if mine is also an Oscar nom?
Then we could push both of them up. Thanks for joining us here at Popcorn Moms. If you like what you heard, we'd really appreciate your support. Subscribe to the show, rate and review us, and most importantly, share it with someone you know. Thanks for listening.